Building has to be the toughest part of Fortnite Battle Royale. The players like Myth, CypherPK, Nick830, and other pros consistently destroy people with their ability to outbuild and give themselves the advantage in nearly every fight. If you don't think you'll ever be able to build like these guys, don't worry, because I probably will never make it to that level either. They have put in the time and effort to reach the top of the game. But we absolutely do not have to build just like them to still be good builders and succeed in the game. Those guys are constantly streaming for thousands of people every day, so sometimes the builds are just for show to wow the crowd. That way little Jimmy will go home and tell his friends to come check out the stream too. Yes, these builds are awesome and really exciting to watch, but you can oftentimes get by with much simpler builds that don't make a portafort in 2 seconds. In this long awaited and much requested video, I'm going to take you through some of my advanced building tips that have led me to over 500 wins in Fortnite. I am by no means a pro or claiming to be one, but I am a nerd that has put in a lot of time into this game, so sit back, take some notes, and let's get into it. Whether you are on PC or console, and yes, I do play on both, sensitivity is a large part in becoming great at building. So let me take you through some of the mistakes I made with sensitivity and what I think will work best for you. I currently play at a 7 on the X and 6 on the Y on console. I brought it down a little bit so I could be more accurate. This has really worked best for me in terms of building quickly while also maintaining that great accuracy. I made a huge mistake in bumping my sensitivity up to 8 on both the X and Y at one point. It definitely helped me build quicker, but my aim was inconsistent in shotgun battles. You need to find the right sensitivity on PC or console that allows you to build relatively fast while maintaining good shotgun accuracy. Shotguns are the biggest factors, guys, in these build battles and are arguably the most important pieces of every player's game. So if you can only handle around a 6 sensitivity, don't worry, stick with that as long as you're still hitting your shots. This also applies to PC players, so before you comment, console pleb, make sure you can handle that mouse sensitivity too. You can build the Great Wall of China in Fortnite, but that won't matter if you're out there shooting like the clone troopers in Star Wars movies. Yeah, they can't hit anything. A quick note for console players, you have to use Builder Pro to be as good as you possibly can be at building. It lets you quickly switch between weapons and different materials. Ever since I switched to Builder Pro controller setting, my building has gotten way better. At first, it took a while to adapt, but now that the muscle memory is there, I know that I can build way faster than I used to be able to. The best console players, which includes players much better than me like Nick Mercs, are all switching to Builder Pro, and you should too. My updated settings will be posted in our Discord, so if you're curious, you can find them there. Next up, we have building IQ. I decided to throw this into the video because there's a huge misconception going throughout the Fortnite community. A lot of people think that you need to build a big base or double ramp rush nearly every scenario. Sure, those buildings are really satisfying to do and they provide for some awesome clips, but there are a lot of scenarios where one ramp and a wall will suffice. You don't always need to build a lot. Just build enough to give yourself the height advantage and to put yourself in a position to build more if you need to. A lot of times you will save materials, which will help you later on in the game. One of the biggest problems people have in Fortnite is running out of resources during a battle. This happens to me all the time and it really frustrates me, and this is most likely chalked up to unwise building early on. I'm still working on this myself. I'm just saying it's something that we all need to improve on. So all in all, only build a little at a time. Don't build 2x2 bases or double ramps when you really don't need to. Now on to the good stuff. Countering ramp rushes is one of the biggest requests we have in terms of guides. I would like to answer this as shortly as I possibly can so you guys can get the point quickly, but as expected, it is a very situational and complicated technique. Everybody pretty much ramp rushes in this game. Anybody that is good and knows what to do, you know, you gotta go for that high ground, which means you gotta ramp up with a ramp wall. So let me take you through a few situations that are common and my tips for countering these. First off, we have the ramp rush where you have the high ground and someone is rushing up to you. Luckily, this is the easiest of the 3 situations I'm going to talk through and does not actually take a lot of skill to defend against. I typically start off by trying to shoot them down to the ground or landing shots on the player as they approach. a lot of times you can get some fall damage on them, or at least a couple of shots early, which immediately grants you that health advantage in the fight. If this fails and you're facing a good player who fights through the shots with some great building and edits, then you need to immediately start building over the top of them. Whether you use ramps or floors, do something to block their clear path to you. This will ensure you maintain that high ground advantage and also give you the ability to edit your way down to them for some surprise shots. And all of these ramp rush counters, make sure you do not only focus on building and you're just spamming walls and floors and stairs the whole time. I've seen so many players get tunnel vision where they only focus on building and completely forget to take out their guns to land shots on the other person. A good player will build for the advantage, try to hit some shots on the enemy, then go back to building. There's a nice balance between shooting and building that varies based on who you are fighting. Let me just say that I understand it's really hard to find that right balance because you want to build, you want to give yourself that high ground, but at the same time you just need to get shots on the other players. I used to struggle with this where I would just build and I would never end up shooting them, and then I'd end up dying from fall damage or something would happen. So trust me guys, you just mentally need to start making it important to yourself and it'll start to come with time. In the second scenario, we have the ramp rush where the player's coming towards you on the same level. This can either happen in the middle of a big build battle, or it can just happen where you're both on the ground. There are a variety of situations, but this is the middle situation in terms of difficulty, but it can be handled very easily with the right plays. Most of the time these battles start with your opponent ramping up to your left or right. What you need to do in these situations is also ramp towards them up a few stories, then build a wall between you both. Right after that wall, build a ramp, and this will give you the high ground in the majority of the fights while also blocking you from their shots. If the other player is really good, they'll be attempting to do the same thing, so you have to be ready for an epic build battle straight up in the air, which we're really going to start covering in step 3 here. Scenario number 3 is one in which someone is already above you and ramping up higher. This is obviously the worst scenario, and it goes with the second part of situation number 2, where your opponent ramps over you, they beat you to that nice little push over the top. My first move is always to try to shoot them down, but if that doesn't work right away, you have to improvise. And keep in mind guys, these tips go only so far. You have to improvise every fight because you're always fighting a new opponent. Every fight is going to be different, and you have to keep in mind where your opponent is in order to make the right move. I generally try to use floor panels and ramps to fake out the other player and to regain the high ground. Building floors around in a circle and then moving into a ramp rush to one side works most of the time. To do this, make sure you're building a ramp below and above you for added protection. Once you get to a decent position, turn around with walls to face the opponent. You should ideally have a clean shot or at least a chance to start ramp rushing straight at them for a higher position. This kind of takes you right back to step 2 where you're on the same level as your opponent. The biggest part in these build fights is to keep in mind where your opponent is and to play offensive. You want to make them react to your moves rather than the other way around. If you find yourself constantly reacting to your opponent, that means they're probably better at building than you and you're going to die soon. So you want to take the battle into your hands and give yourself a chance to come out alive. I know it can be incredibly tempting to play Fortnite like Call of Duty, especially with the limited time jetpacks in the game where you just shoot, jump, and shoot again. This might work sometimes, but we're not playing Infinite Warfare, thank God. But in Fortnite, you have plenty of time to build a wall or a ramp between pump shots. Don't even take the risk of getting hit while you're waiting to shoot again. When you have a ramp, you can also peek or flick shots off where the other player has a very small chance of hitting you. In a lobby of 90 to 100 players, there's no reason, guys, to be risky in every gunfight. You'll have far too many opportunities to die, and it's practices like these that make the pros so good. The biggest problem with this tip is not getting lazy though. I personally know that I need to build between my shots more often, but I get really aggressive and try to end the battle without building because yes, I still flash back to the Call of Duty days, and this causes me to die way more than I would like, and it's what really separates the pros from me. I'm a good player, but the pros are on a different level. So overall guys, Just make sure you're not being lazy and you're building between your shots to give yourself protection, and that way you're not taking stupid damage that's gonna haunt you later on in the game. On to my favorite part of this whole video, editing. I just want to start off by saying that I've learned from the best, and everything I know about editing comes from Nick830 and CypherPK. They're both amazing players on PC and are great content creators, so if you want to tweet them and tell them I say thank you for giving me some great examples and how to really get better at building, go ahead and do it. But I realize that there's a huge gap between the average Fortnite players and gods like them. So I'm going to fill that gap with some easier to follow editing tips for you guys. The edit I use the most is the corner edit of walls. This has made my Fortnite life way better, and I know I sound like a huge nerd when I'm saying that, but I am owning up to it. I don't really care. You can use this edit to escape out of situations and to pop off a shot at someone that's behind a wall. One of my favorite situations to use this in is whenever someone boxes themselves in. All you have to do is break through their wall and quickly build your own wall there. This can be tricky to do at times, I understand that, but if you can pull it off, you can edit the wall yourself and shoot them while they're boxed in. You can also edit windows into the wall in this situation. Get as creative as you want with it to throw off the other player, and really, you can just hit them when they're least expecting it. The next edit I use often is the floor and ramp edits. I usually use these in high build battles like discussed before. They allow me to escape down below or to build up with a floor over my head. You can use these edits to break in above somebody who boxed themselves in just like earlier, or you can just break the top, build your own floor ramp, and then edit your way in. On to sniper edits, which make for the coolest plays in Fortnite in my opinion. Instead of trying to peek off shots on the other person while putting yourself at risk to also be shot, place a wall and then edit the wall out to pop off a quick shot. This is a very high difficulty shot, but I personally love it and think you guys should give it a try. And also, while you're editing, whenever you edit pieces, you can see through them like windows without exposing yourself. So either way, even if you don't want to use this to pop off a sniper shot, you can use it when you're in your base to look around and get a better perspective of the whole map. There are obviously a lot more edits, but if you learn these ones very well, you'll be a higher skilled player than most people in Fortnite. If I can improve my edits even more, I might even throw together a guide just for edits. I love them so much. It's probably my favorite part of Fortnite, and I just want to keep on getting better with them, and I hope you guys do too. Facing multiple people in either a solo v squads or in general does not mean charging right in and taking down everyone at the same time with some epic builds. The pros can do that occasionally, but they know to only go into the midst of a fight whenever they have the advantage. This is where that positioning plays a huge role in making these fights manageable, and you really need to start focusing on that building IQ I was talking about earlier. Instead of charging into a team of 4 with guns ablazing, put yourself in a position to take on one of the enemies at a time. I understand this can be really hard to do, but a lot of squads can be easy to split up whenever you start applying pressure. If one person is lagging behind, try to knock them and use them to bait out the other players. This can work for figuring out where everyone is at and what you want to do next. In the case where the entire squad charges you, you'll have to pull off some very advanced building to keep players out of the fight. What I mean by this is that you need to try to face one person at a time. I prefer to use double pump in these many enemy fights so that I can fire off a shot at someone, build walls and ramps between myself and them, while also quickly building behind me to box out any other players. This allows me to keep my focus on the one player without having to worry too much about somebody coming to flank. As these are the toughest fights for even pros to win, sometimes there's really not much you can do when going up against a whole squad of great builders. However, if you manage the fight well enough to bring it to 4 1 versus 1 shotgun battles, your odds of winning are definitely going to increase. So I know this was a really long guide, but I had a ton to talk about to help you guys improve. Thank you so much for watching and supporting our channel. If I missed anything, please let me know down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the sub button and turn on notifications and such. I hear that helps to see our stuff, but who knows with YouTube's new policies these days. They've been killing us lately in the sub box. But if you guys have any questions at all, please leave them down below and I will get to as many as I possibly can. See you all in the next one.
Started as a zero, I was chasing dreams, trying to turn into a hero. Sniper rifle, 5 rivals going for the title. I could be the one that they idol. Red brush, climbing stairs, fire here, I'm over there. It's Rodey fam, hit you while we flying through the air.